Hey everyone, welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Jack and I am back again today with Alex. Alex is a UI UX designer, Adobe XD ambassador, content creator, coach, teacher, and a big coffee fan. Did you start your day with coffee today, Alex?
I did, same like yesterday. I had like 3 coffees today, so
Oh
basically
man,
the same as every other day.
you are ready to go. If you are over on YouTube, come on over to Behance, behance.net/Adobe Live. That's where we will be answering your questions. We might ask you all questions in the chat. Looks like we've got a lot of folks joining us today already. We've got Oliver, we've got Katerina, Shamanth, Corey, Annika. Welcome, everyone. Before us today was an Illustrator Creative Challenge with Julia Vaca. That's every weekday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. Be sure to join the challenges. There's a new prompt every day. We also had day 2 with Anna Duhay with illustrating for print, but now it is time for a coffee break. Alex will be working today again in Adobe XD, working on a coffee app. Alex, let us know a little about yourself and what we've been working on so far.
All right, so hi everybody, my name is Alex and let's get straight into it. I'm going to start sharing my screen and show you a little bit of a presentation which I prepared. Jack, hopefully you can see the presentation.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so just a little bit about myself. My name is Aleksandar Chuchukovic. That last name is a bit hard to pronounce, so I go everywhere online by Alex on Design. I'm from the country of Serbia, which is in Europe. I'm a UI UX designer and teacher, and I've been doing this for over 15 years. I am a dad to a 4-year-old girl. I love coffee and cars, and hence the coffee app, which is what we are going to be creating over these 2 days. If you missed yesterday, I run a website called Alex on Design, where I host all of my courses. You can see the courses here, all about UI UX design, Adobe XD. You can see creative design systems, user flows, paper wireframes, color selection, iconography, and all of those nice fun stuff. Then I run a website called webdonut.net, which is all about digital design products. And you can see we created everywhere from mood board templates to UI kits, UX kits, landing page builders, social media graphics, and so much more. So do check it out if you're interested. And then speaking about products, I recently launched the Inception design system, which as far as I know is the biggest design system for Adobe XD ever created. And you can find it on inceptiondesignsystem.co if you're interested. It's based on molecular structure, 8-pixel grid. You can work with local and cloud files. Flowcharts are included, templates are included, Lottie files for that animation, fun, and so much more. And finally, and not the least, I run a YouTube channel called Alex on Design, which you can see right here. And once again, these videos are all about Adobe XD, since I am also Adobe XD ambassador, and all about UI UX design. You can see a bunch of these fun live streams right here, and a bunch of short video tips, long video tips. So once again, if you're interested, do check them out. So for the day 1 and what we did yesterday, we did project introduction. And we're going to do that today for the people who are just joining us today. We did a task flow, and we simply connected this task flow for the screen which we were designing. Then we moved on to paper wireframes, and I showed you the wireframes which I created on paper. And finally, we created wireframes inside of Adobe XD. And today for the day 2, I'm going to run through project introduction once again for all of you folks who are just joining us today. Then we're going to move on to design and turning those wireframes in XD that we created into design by bringing in images, a lot more color, and some small details here and there. And finally, we're going to wrap up this 2-day live stream with prototyping. We're going to add some nice animations and transitions and bring this project to life. So let's get started and let me show you what we're going to be working on. So the project name is Coffee Love, and it's basically a local coffee shop that wants to expand from a physical location to mobile app and reach a wider audience through custom coffee experience and fast delivery. Basically just a small mom and pop shop. They have just one physical location and they want to broaden their reach by creating this mobile app experience. The main goal of the app is to provide a tailored coffee ordering experience and delivery with upsell of additions and suites, so users will hopefully come back and order every single day. So it's not just let's order espresso every day, but more focused towards creating that personalized and tailored coffee experience that a lot of people like. Target audience are males and females in their 20s and 30s who are passionate about coffee, and then later the focus will expand to people in their 40s. Down the line, the food ordering will be added as well, but food is going to be just sandwiches and maybe slices of pizza and something like that. And this demographic is because they did their user research on the piece of paper, and just users who are coming through the door, so people who are ordering coffee every single day in that physical location, simply filled in a little questionnaire just to let them know who they are and are they in the 20s, 30s, are they male, female, gender binary, and so much more. So that's how we came up with this target audience. Finally, order delivery will be done using local companies who are doing food delivery rather than using in-house resources. This will allow for broader delivery coverage from the start. What this means is they're not going to waste their resources by purchasing a vehicle, branding a vehicle, hiring drivers who are going to deliver these coffees throughout the town, but rather hiring companies who are already doing this and have their own resources, have many more drivers and have many more vehicles, which in turn is going to bring them more revenue and broader their reach to more customers. So let's get started. That's all for the project introduction part. So I'm going to quickly show you the task flows that we did yesterday. So these are all the screens which we kind of planned out. And if you want, you can check out the replay on Behance just to see what we did yesterday. But basically we did just these 9 screens, and all of these other screens were suggested by the chat, who were nice enough to give me suggestions about all of these other screens, which should be designed in ideal case, but we're just focusing on these 9 screens just because of the time constraints. Then we simply move on to this task flow, and I showed you how to create this super easy task flow using some awesome features like padding in Adobe XD, so that you can easily type in and these boxes are going to scale and follow. And then after we done that, I showed you how I created these paper wireframes using this black dot grid paper and white jelly pens. And once again, I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday throughout the stream. This is done just for the purposes of show, because this is going to be easier to read on a black paper with a white pen rather than vice versa on white paper and with a blue pen, for example. And I did it just for that. Then finally, we moved on to these wireframes and we created these 9 screens, which I mentioned. And I'm going to simply enter a prototype just to show you what we created. So we have this first screen, second screen, and third screen, which are walkthrough screens. And then after these screens comes a login screen and sign up screen, which are basically exactly the same. The only difference is we have a name field right here for the sign up screen. Then after that, we moved on to the home screen, where you can see all most popular coffees. Here you can click craft your coffee to go to the next screen. Here you can search for a favorite coffee, and here are the upsells like cookies and sweets. And finally, this is the main and key screen of this app, which is to tailor your experience for coffee. So you can choose your coffee, you can select the size, and we created these cards so you can swipe left and right to see all sorts of different selections. You can choose milk, additions, sweets, and this price is going to update in real time, which is what we're hopefully going to do today. Finally, this is the checkout screen with what you have selected with the price right here. And at the end, order confirmation screen, which we mentioned yesterday, is really important. So that's it for yesterday. What we're going to do today, as I mentioned, is we're going to do the design. So usually when I'm designing, I like to simply put images and colors right here on these screens. But for this live stream, just for the presentational purposes and just to show you what we're going to create, I'm going to simply duplicate these screens like so, and then work on the design here, just so at the end of the stream, we can wrap up and show what we did yesterday and what we did today. So that's basically it. And now let's get started. So Jack, let me know if there are some comments coming in.
Yeah, we've got a couple people joining again from yesterday. Ruben and Badro Bob are both here. Potato is joining, so welcome back, everybody. Let us know if you are in the chat. Let us know if you're a coffee fan, if you are prefer tea or maybe energy drinks to get your caffeine fix. Let us know. And yeah, Alex is going to get started working on the designs here. We do have an artist spotlight coming up today, about an hour and a half in. So at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to spotlight somebody's work from the community. If you'd like to be picked for a future spotlight, or if you would like to recommend someone that you know or whose work you really admire, feel free to submit. There is a tab right above the chat that you can switch over to and submit somebody to be featured in the artist spotlight in the future.
So Laura, what I'm doing right here.
Oh, go ahead.
Hi, Laura. I'm just removing the borders from these circles because I'm going to apply this gradient, which I'm going to show you right here. So I picked this gradient and I'm going to actually show you the colors. It's super simple linear gradient, and you can see these colors right here. So you can use them if you want to. Lighter is right here, darker is right here, and it's just linear from bottom to top. And I picked these colors just for it sort of reminds me of nature. So you have this green color and you have this sort of mint color inside, sort of reminds me of leaves, and it's going to allow for images to pop a little bit more, and it's going to basically give us this separation for images between image and the background. So that's basically it. And I'm going to apply the same gradient to all of these circles, and I'm just clicking right here.
So you're doing this for like a contrast, essentially?
Exactly. And I have this gradient saved right here in my document assets.
Yeah, it looks like you're making pretty like heavy use of that document assets panel over there. You've got your colors, you've got your character styles, got some components set up. Is that typically how you kind of work?
For every single project. And great thing about it, you can see I have all of these icons saved, is you can create groups, which is especially important if you're working with design systems where you have a bunch of these different groups, like let's say buttons. So you're going to have button with straight corners, with rounded corners, big button, middle button, small button. So it's really important to group them into separate groups. And that's what this asset panel allows you to do. It's super simple to do. And I'm going to show you an example right here. So this is our gradient, which I just show you. So for example, if I decide to change it to something different, let's say something a bit darker and lighter right here, all you need to do is simply select your element. This can be either a button, as I mentioned, or a color, or if you want to add components, you can do so right here, for character styles right here, and for the colors right here. So simply use this plus, and it's going to add your new gradient right here. And in order for you to apply that gradient anywhere on your document, you can select your item, click, and it's going to apply. It's simple as that. And the great thing about it is, let's actually get rid of it. So hit delete. I'm going to apply this one. If you want, now that we have it applied throughout our document, if you want to make a quick adjustment, you can hit edit. And then, for example, this one, when I hit apply, it's going to actually apply throughout our document wherever this color is selected, and you can see it applied in real time. But I'm going to go back to how things were previously.
Yeah, you can also export out that document assets there as a library, or import a library into that document assets panel there. If you were working with like an external brand and you wanted to pull in those colors from another library that you have already set up.
That's nice of you to mention libraries, because I'm actually going to use a different library for my assets, for my images. So I have it right here. It's called Coffee Love Assets, and it's just something which I imported previously and prepared for this live stream. Once again, just for the time's sake. So here you can create your groups and you can name your groups, for example, either icons or images or whatever, or you can separate them by screens or web pages, depending on what you're working on. But in my case, you can see I selected them like so. So I have my coffee images, I have my home screen, I have my milk additions, and so much more. So now I'm going to start applying these images and opening them in. But before I do, I just want to show you really quickly. I'm going to create an artboard, 1920 by 1080. And I'm going to come right here and call it mood board. And I'm going to simply create a rectangle, something like this, maybe a bit smaller. Use a repeat grid really quickly to create 4 of them, and maybe 3 of them like so. Increase the distances just a touch, ungroup the grids and move them like this, because I want to show you mood board images. Now these images are all taken from Dribbble, and you can go to Dribbble and find all of these awesome images for your inspiration. And I also recommend to check out Behance, because you can quite easily save this to Behance. I don't usually do this, but I wanted to show you this for this particular project just as an option in XD, because I think it can be quite fun, especially if you're sharing this with your clients. So you can quite easily do this. You can see I have all of these images saved in this library, and I can quite easily share this library with my clients, with my teammates, with whoever else on the team. And here are all of the designs which I was using to inspire myself before I started creating this app. And right here you can see a tutorial which was done by Howard Pinsky, and I think you can find it on his YouTube channel. And basically this is how super simple it is to create all of these mood boards. And I'm also going to create some sort of a color scheme. So let's get rid of this. I'm going to use this for, let's say, this gray one, just so that you can see it. You can also put it in a group, include a stack, and then come right here and duplicate it and increase the distance to, let's say, 24. And you can duplicate it a few times, and then simply come to these swatches and select any color that you might like. For example, I don't know, I like this orange color, let's say, or this green color. And by doing this and by using this approach, you can simply get into the mood of whatever the project you are working on, because every project obviously is different. Every team is different. For some projects, you're going to be working with more serious colors. For some projects, you're going to be working with more playful colors. So basically, this is what I wanted to show you for this particular example. And I can leave the link to this mood board, which I created on Behance. But basically simply search for coffee images, and all of these images which I showed you right here are going to pop up. So I'm going to leave this somewhere around here so it's not distracting, and let's go back to our design.
Yeah, Wade is sharing a link to Howard's YouTube, so thanks for that, Wade. And
thanks,
Samuel Wade has a question for us. People say it's not a good idea to use Flutter for client production. Would you agree? Should it be coded from scratch? So Flutter is like an export plugin for XD that lets you kind of export out code. And I don't know if you have any experience with that, or if you have any thoughts around that, Alex.
Before I answer that, I just want to touch up on these assets. These
Sure.
assets can be created quite easily, because you can download free mockups from internet and use Photoshop, for example, just to create a mockup like this. So you can see just this logo, which we were using yesterday, and you can simply snap it to here. You can use coffee images to pour inside and create something like this, but you can see it has a really nice effect for your image. In terms of Flutter, my answer to that is always, if your client has resources, if they have time, if they have a big budget, big team, everything is, in my opinion, always better if it is coded from scratch. because you can create completely new architecture, completely new code, completely new structure, but that's really rarely the case, especially in today's environment where things are changing all the time really quickly. So, that's just my opinion. So if you can, if your client has big budget, if they have a big team, then sure, go for it. Code everything from scratch. Don't export anything using plugins. But that's really rarely going to be the case, because in majority of cases, especially these days, these big teams are creating design systems, and design systems are super easy to maintain, super easy to scale, super easy to organize and share between teammates. So basically, it's all really up to your client and who are you working for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have options as well. We touched on a little bit yesterday, Webflow, and how you can use sort of these page
Exactly.
builders if you have to do it yourself, or the client doesn't have a budget for a developer team, depending on your comfort level with learning. There is obviously a bit of a learning curve, but also an option for you.
Yeah.
And now you were touching on these here. You use Photoshop mockups to just kind of quickly put the brand on some of these products here to get some product shots in the app.
Yeah. And this is especially useful. Once again, we're going back to that budget. If your clients have limited budget, and you can do something like this using Adobe stock assets, you can find free assets online, and you can simply combine, let's say for this particular example, I combined this image of coffee beans on the ground and this coffee cup to create one element, basically, because this coffee cup is created as a sort of PNG, so it has this transparent background right here at the bottom. Then I exported that from Photoshop, imported it in Adobe XD, tested it out after it was working. Then I imported it to this custom library, which I created for this project. And now I can simply use it and reuse it throughout my document like so.
Nice. Yeah, and those libraries, those assets in those libraries work across all Adobe software. So, for example, if you wanted to create like a social post, you could pull those branded assets into like something like Creative Cloud Express and create like a social post with a product mockup, to kind of advertise the app.
It's also great. You can use it in After Effects. Mm-hmm. You can use it in Adobe Dimension, for example. And Dimension is actually really great for this sort of stuff, for the product shots, for the product setup, because if you have something like a logo, you can quite easily take a 3D model, put it into Dimension, and then simply take this logo, bring it into Dimension, apply it, and then save it out as a transparent PNG, for example, and then bring it back into XD or Photoshop or whatever to put it into screen for this particular case.
Yeah, definitely. But the creative challenge that they were doing today, the Illustrator Creative Challenge, was around some of the 3D effects in Illustrator. So you can also kind of do some of that stuff in Illustrator now as well, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Val is joining. Val says, I'm really loving the blue color in with the coffee shades. So that contrasting pop of blue.
Yeah. So I'm going to select these three elements. So basically I just used this background circle, Control D or Command D, put it on top, called it mask. And then I'm going to select all three, Shift, Control or Command M, to put it inside of a mask. And this is going to allow for this precision movement and precision measures. So it's going to show me measures of this circle rather than measures of this image, because you can see the bounds of this image are far wider than the bounds of this mask, which is going to allow just for easier movement. That's basically it.
Handy trick there. So you're just kind of going through and putting in kind of these images where you think they kind of correspond to the different placeholder blocks you've placed for the in the wireframes essentially right now.
Yeah, that's why we created them yesterday. So if I take this screen and take you right here, this is why we blocked all of these elements in, and we did all of this yesterday, and we positioned it sort of like this wireframe right here. So you can see craft your coffee, cookies and sweets. And if I take you right here, we have craft your coffee, cookies and sweets. So this coffee can be just a plain mug of coffee like it is in this case, or you can, for example, put an image of a person, let's say preparing the coffee, or a coffee making machine or something like that. But I just decided for the ease of use to simply include the cup of coffee right here. And because I have all of these placeholders right here with names of coffees included inside, I'm just going to go and include all of these coffees inside. So I have my coffee images here, and you can see that they correspond well with these names right here. And this is just going to save me a bunch of time. And we spoke about it yesterday about how important it is to name your layers, because it can really quite easily bite you at the end of the project. And you can see it right here. So it's just a matter of selecting, finding espresso right here, dragging and dropping, and then moving on to another image, rather than this being called image slash 123 slash whatever, and then I have to open it up and see what it is, try to understand is it going to go here or somewhere else. So it's just a nightmare. It's much easier to just name your layers, and you're going to work much faster that way.
It's also handy that you have named all of those items in your list there, so you can know exactly which, kind of images you want to pull for these. I mean, do you find that to be something that you do often? You prefer to have like that real copy put in there versus lorem ipsum?
It really depends. For my personal projects, yes, every single time. But for the client projects, depending on the deadline, if they really have a short deadline, I really try to just put lorem ipsum inside until, like, let's say development comes or something like that. Or on some projects, we don't even name the layers. We just hand over this to developers to develop. But I really like to name my layers. And you can see, for example, let's take this case. So we have espresso right here. We have espresso right here. We have espresso right here. So if I switch to my layers panel, you can see that what it is selected right here. So this image placeholder is also called espresso. So I have this option right here. I can mark it for export. Just click right here, or I can select it, and I think it's right here. There it is. So I can mark it for export right here. So later on, if I decide to export this asset or share it with developers using share and then share for development, all I need to do is simply mark it there, or export it directly to my desktop or some folder by hitting Control or Command E. And from there, I can use PNG, SVG, PDF, JPEG, all that good stuff. And I can also export it in various different sizes for various different use cases. So you can see for the web, for the iOS, for the Android, and all of those come with different settings. So if I select iOS and go for, let's say, JPEG, you can see it's going to export with this quality, you can change all these things. Or if I switch here to PNG once again and then go back to Android, it's going to export as all of these. So basically it just varies from a platform you're going to use these images on. So now that this is completed, and we have this good morning Jack text right here, which I included for this stream, I'm going to move on to this screen, which is sort of our main screen for this app. But actually, before I do, I have some small elements which I'm going to include. They're just going to be scattered around all of these images, and it's just going to give us a bit of visual interest, let's call it that. So I'm going to move this all the way to the back, go right here, and I have my small elements included inside. So just a coffee bean, for example. So I'm going to place it right here and lower it down in size, maybe something like this. And then I have these lines. Whoops, not that. So just don't drag and drop into the place of an existing image. It's just going to replace it. maybe roughly around here. Then I have my green leaf, which I'm going to place roughly around here. And all of these are PNGs, except this one. This is SVG actually. And they are just lines which I created in XD using pen tool. So now that I have them placed right here, I'm going to actually select them and call them small elements. And position them just above my image so that I can easily copy them. Place them right here on this one, which is just going to give us that nice effect when we start with the transitions in a little bit. And here on this one, I'm actually going to move this one right here and rotate it just a touch. And then move this one maybe right here and rotate it as well. And finally use this leaf, position it right here, and maybe rotate it slightly to here.
Yeah, so you're just adding those little elements there to kind of match the, first of all, the kind of like general look and feel of the brand, but also adding some of that like dynamic motion, like in the first image of that coffee that's like really splashing out of the cup. It feels very like there's movement happening. You're kind of like implying some movement.
And because we included the text, perfect start of your day. So pouring of the coffee into the cup, coffee tailored to your taste. So just sort of a hero image of a coffee, and then delivered fresh to your door. Obviously, coffee delivery service in sort of paper cups and stuff like that. Welcome to Coffee Love. So here we have these two, which are basically the same as this one, just the coffee cup and the coffee inside is a little bit different. And then here we have organic coffee. So once again, leaves and coffee into bag. And all of these obviously correspond to what they are saying. So really super easy, super simple. And now let's get to this one. So here I'm just going to go and include all of my coffee images inside and then move on to sizes, milk, additions, and sweets.
The chat is talking about Badger Bob is asking if anybody gets pain from using a mouse. Do you use a mouse? Do you use a trackpad, Alex? Do you use a drawing tablet? What do you tend to use when you work?
What I can give you as an advice is to invest money into a good mouse. So right now I'm using Logitech MX Master 2S. I know there is a 3 outside, so I can show it right here. And it has this place for your thumb, and it's really ergonomically shaped. So you cannot see it really well, but just Google MX Master mouse, and it's really good. And since I've been using it, I didn't have any wrist pain. And also I can recommend these, which I sort of forgot. Yeah, Carpio. This thing is called Carpio. Hopefully it's going to go into focus, something like this. No. Yeah, there we go. So basically this thing, you just place your wrist on it, and it's sort of kind of like two sponges. And I have a video on my YouTube channel. You can check it out, just not to waste too much time on this live stream. But basically what you do, you place it on your table, you place your wrist on it, and it's sort of a wrist rest, and it works really well. And since I had this mouse and this wrist rest, I didn't have any wrist pain. So you can try it out. Mouse is a bit on the pricier side, but these things are really not. I think they're like 20 bucks or something like that. So they really do help, and you have my recommendation if you want to check it out.
I don't think I've ever seen those before. Are they called? They're called Carpio.
Yeah, with a C.
With a C.
You can also go ahead and check out my YouTube channel, because I did a full review on it.
Nice.
It's really awesome.
Looks like a couple other people are also recommending the Logitech mouse. So I've heard good things about them.
They're kind of difficult to get used to once you get started, because of this thumb rest on the side, because your thumb simply rests on it. So it's kind of difficult for the first few days, but then after you get used to it, kind of like all of these things, it's really ergonomical, and it's really useful to have it to rest your thumb on it. So highly recommended. Here you can see I just used the same image, basically increased it 3 times. And I have to say that I stole that idea from Howard Pinsky. You can see that he used the same approach right there. So hopefully he won't mind for this particular live stream. But basically, it's really easy approach to show to your users and for them to understand what you try to portray. And here, because we have none, and I want people to be able to select no milk, because some people don't want any milk, they don't want any additions, and they don't want any sweets. So basically they can just select coffee and size of the coffee. But other people who want, they can select milk additions and sweets. And of course, price is going to correspond. So in this case, we're just going to include an icon right here. So from this library, I'm going to go back to my document assets. And these are my assets. And I'm going to simply use this icon, drag and drop it inside, and basically position it in the center right here.
I believe you mentioned this yesterday that you made all of these icons for this.
No, not all of them. I made just logo, menu, and arrow. But these icons, honestly, I don't know where I got them. I think they're called Pick Icons Tin.
Okay.
So I think that's what they are called.
Gotcha. So
But
just like an icon library.
Exactly. And because we had some issues yesterday, because I updated my XD, here we have the plugins which I'm using generally. So I wanted to show that today. You can use this plugin called Icons for Design. So let's find none, press enter or return, and you can find all of these icons right here, or I can use arrow, for example. And you can see a bunch of these different arrow icons. You can simply click, it's going to position that icon into your document. And basically you can go back and find any other icon that you need.
Yeah, I think that's probably like every designer in XD has that icons for design plugin. It's a very popular one.
It's awesome.
Let us know in the chat what some of your favorite plugins are. Maybe you know some secret plugins that we don't know about that are awesome.
Now that I populated these, I want to go back to my library. So just click right here, find your library, and you can have as many of these libraries as you want. You can see one right here for my Inception design system that I mentioned previously in the presentation, but I'm going to go right here, close this up, find my milk, and then use the cow milk and move on. So Jack, how many coffee cups a day do you drink?
I can't really do more than one, but I do. I tend to do cold brew, which is stronger than regular coffee. So I don't know what that says. It's probably closer to 2 cups. But yeah, I definitely can't do. And I also have to have like a hard cutoff. Like I can't have coffee after like 12 p.m. Otherwise, I'll be up until midnight. Well, I'm up till midnight anyways, but you know what I mean.
And do you use big cups or small cups?
It's pretty big. I do, gosh, I don't even know, because it's all like by just autopilot anymore. But I mix it's like cold brew concentrate that I make every week, and I just keep it in the fridge. So I'll pour some of that in with some ice, and I will add some oat milk as my milk of choice, my addition of choice. So sometimes if I am feeling fancy, I'll go with chocolate, add some chocolate milk, but generally speaking, yeah, just plain. What about you?
When I say I drink 3 coffees, usually I drink 2, but my cups are like this, so really small. And when I add milk, that's further going to reduce the strength of coffee, I think. So it's really not that bad as it sounds, but I usually drink 2 a day.
Yeah, the size of mine, I don't know. I drink it out of this, it's like a mason jar it's like with like the coffee brand that I like. on the outside. So it's probably like 10 ounces, I want to say. So there you go. It's my
Awesome.
daily coffee.
Okay, so I placed all of my images inside except for this one, which is kind of a crucial element. So I'm going to actually go into my original file, which I created just today. And I'm going to take this coffee cup just to show you how it looks like. So I'm going to come right here into this top section and paste it in right here. And just make sure that it is in the center. And I'm basically going to walk you through what this is and how I created it, because we will not have any time. We are already 40 minutes in and we have to do an artist spotlight and the prototyping of this app. So basically, this is something which I created really quickly. And you can also find these illustrations online, both free and premium, and simply play around with them. So you can see coffee cup right here. So basic shape of a cup. Then we have a reflection right here. So just a rectangle with white color inside. Then we have coffee, which is obviously going to go right here. Then we have milks and additions, and these also correspond with these right here. So the more of these you have, the more of these you're going to need to create inside of your cup. And if I show you how these look like, I'm going to open up the coffee, because I don't know how much time we're going to have today, because this is going to be massive to prototype. So I'm going to show you these right here. So this is for the espresso. This is for the lungo, so just a bit bigger. This is for the latte, and you can see that the size and color is going to change. This is for the macchiato, Americano, and finally this Corretto coffee, which is really dark. So I'm going to stick with espresso, and then I'm going to move on to milk. So when I add milk, you can see cow milk is white, and what these are just plain rectangles with color, and they are hiding basically behind this coffee cup. So if I hide my coffee cup shape, you can see how they look like. So they're just basically rectangles positioned in this sort of shape, so not like this but this, to fill in the behind of this coffee cup. So if I add this cow milk, then we have additions. So we have crumbs, which are going to go sort of right here. We have cream, and we have ice cream, and I just went with pen tool and created this sort of shape. But of course you can go crazy and create whatever you want, or what you can also do is place real images here. But for this particular app, I wanted to combine real images with something like this to give it a sort of a bit more playful look and feel to it. But of course, it all depends of the brand and of the company you are going to work for. So just keep that in mind. Some brands don't really like illustrations at all. Others are just filled with illustrations. So really it all depends from brand to brand and how that graphic or illustration is going to tell their story. So what I'm going to do right here is simply leave this espresso here, because I don't want it to go right here, because it's just going to show the empty cup. So let's leave espresso selected by default. And yesterday we did this. So when I select this, we have border included for all of these. So if we go right here to show you, this was our wireframe. So border is included for all of these. You can see right here, whatever I select from these items, there is a border just hidden, and the border is there just to show that this item has been selected. And that's what we're going to do when we start prototyping. So let me do a quick check and see if we included everything. I think we have. Yep. And now let me show you how these look like now without any animation. So you can see all of these colors look really nicely. And I think they work quite nicely. And here we can scroll down. Here is our cup, and I forgot to add all of those little details right here. So I'm going to go and do that in just a second. And of course you can now click and drag these, and now they make much more sense because we have these images inside. And here, because I added a lot of these, now we have them like so. checkout, and finally order confirmed. And I think I'm going to also include those elements right here. And then we are going to start with the prototypes.
Yeah. Clever is saying, I'm going to go crazy and add all the ice cream to their coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that there that Alex just went through is setting up how you go about setting up a series of illustrations or Illustrator elements to kind of what he's going to show here in a second with the prototyping. So thinking through like what pieces and parts do I need for this so that when I go to prototype, everything kind of like behaves how he plans for it to kind of behave. And you can create these using XD. XD has some like vector drawing tools, shapes, lines, that sort of thing. Or you can also, if you are, skilled in Illustrator, you can bring in copy and paste or import in vector graphics and edit those as well. So Val saying, nice approach to illustrated coffee types. So Val likes your, you can make like a whole design out of that, like a whole infographic of coffee, just with the what you put together there.
just with rectangles. Nice. So I'm going to group these and call them small elements. Hit Control C and come right here. Position them right here and then just adjust them throughout
I think there's
image.
I believe there's at least one that I know of, if not a few, XD creative challenges that kind of go over setting up kind of like these rectangles and hiding and showing them to animate. If you guys go and check out the XD creative challenges, you can give it a go and try setting it up your own kind of prototype similar to this.
Okay, so now that we have everything in place, we can actually start with the prototype. So I'm going to go and close all of these folders so I'm not confused by them, and actually start with prototyping. Because these are going to stay basically as they are, just this screen is going to change. So what I'm going to do for this case, you can see this line right here, which is actually the height of our screen. So this blue dotted line with this handle at the end. So this is just the height of all of these screens in the regular size. So 428 with 926. I just extended these in order for me to be able to scroll down. What I'm going to do here is come inside for all of these selections and then come right here and turn them into vertical scroll. And I'm going to actually adjust and find my top section. Here it is. I'm going to drag a quick guide and see where it is. It sort of disappeared. Let's try that again. So here it is. I don't know why it disappeared. So I'm going to extend this to this guide, and I can go ahead and now remove this guide because I don't need it anymore. And what this is going to allow me to do is basically just have this scroll up to this point. And for this bottom point, I'm actually going to move this up all the way to here until it meets with this line right here at the bottom. And then I'm going to use this scroll group and I'm going to call it, let's say, selections, like so. And I'm going to make sure that I have my padding at the bottom. So let's see, right, this is top. Here we go. I'm going to leave the padding of 24 and you can see that padding right here. And I'm going to select this selection and bring it all the way to here. So to this top line of this bottom bar. And now I'm going to select the artboard name and basically reduce the size to here. And this is what we spoke about yesterday.
Yeah.
This annoying option in XD. Hopefully they are going to fix it. So now when I preview, you can see that now all of it is in view. So when I start scrolling down, you can see all of these sections, they are now just in this visible part. So that's the awesome option with these scroll groups. And of course, all of these still work for themselves. So now basically we are ready to include all of these different options and to start prototyping. So I'm going to start with this first screen and switch over to my prototype mode. And what I'm going to do is basically use a drag feature, or you can do a tap. So you can actually use both. So I can select this one and drag it to here. And I can use tap and auto animate. And I want to use auto animate because we have these same elements inside. Majority of them are the same, like the text, background circle, these elements. Just the coffee images are going to be different. I'm going to use ease out and let's say 0.4 seconds. And simply click here and drag. And it's going to transition from this screen to this screen using the same settings that I use for this first one. And then use the same for this third one. Let's see how that's going to look like. And actually we can preview it straight away. So when I click right here, you can see they are changing, but I think they are changing a bit too quickly. So I'm actually going to adjust this to 0.8, for example. 0.8 and 0.8, just to find the sweet spot which works. So now I think they work much better.
Yeah, and you have those are moving because you've all named them the same on each one of your artboards.
Exactly, they are in the same spots. They have exactly the same layer names, and I just changed their positions. So this is our first one, and you can just pay attention, for example, to this coffee bean, how it rotates, how it changes depending on where I put it. And now we have all of these different options. What we also need is to use this skip, and I'm going to skip to my sign in screen. And here, instead of auto animate, what we can do is, let's say, transition. And I'm going to use slide up maybe. Ease out 0.8, I think it works fine. And this is a great option with XD. It's going to remember what you did the previous time and basically just going to speed up your process. So now here we are. When I click skip, it's just going to transition in to this sign in screen. And what I also want to show you is drag. So you can select the entire artboard, click and drag this blue handle. Instead of tap, use drag, auto animate, and easing. Let's go with ease in out. So it's going to ease in and out of your drag. And I'm going to drag it to this one. The one downside of drag is you cannot really go into both directions, just into one direction, because if I show you, I cannot drag it to this screen. At least I'm not aware that it can be. Oops, I reduced the size of this. Let me bring my prototype back. Here we go. So now when I start dragging, you can see how smoothly this animation is happening and this transition. So it's going from this screen to this screen, but now when I try to go back to the previous screen, I cannot do that. So that's the drag trigger happening.
And you've also got those little indicators for the screen that you're on along the bottom that are changing as well.
These can be done in many different ways. I simply chose this one to skip to the next one and then slowly drags out. But of course, you can do it many different ways. You can simply change the colors of these as you drag from screen to screen. You can use mask, and then you can position these behind your mask and play around with the shape, with the color, transitions, all sorts of different fun things. So make sure to explore what you can do with it. Here, because we have sign in and sign up, I want to use some sort of auto animate to switch between these two screens. So when people click here, if you don't have an account, because this is a sign in screen, you might want to create an account. So it's going to take you to the sign up screen. And vice versa, if you have an account, you can see it says right here, already have an account, then sign in here. So I just want to switch between these two screens. So I'm going to select here, and instead of drag, use tap, auto animate, And let's go with easy in out 0.8. And let's go with the same animation back. So now when I do this, click right here, you can see it's going to switch between these screens, and it's just going to introduce this new input field for your name, and it's going to move this up to the top, and it's going to switch from sign in to sign up in the button, and also this text at the bottom right here. And what we want is to switch to this home screen from this sign in and sign up when you sign in or create an account and sign up. So I'm going to also click and drag it to here. Use tap ease in out, and maybe actually instead of auto animate, yeah, let's go with auto animate on this one. And we are going to use transitions for this next one. So let's test it out, see how it works. Because we have this shape, the circle inside, and it's the same with this one. So when I hit sign in, you can see how it looks like, but I'm not really a big fan. So let's actually explore something else. And if you're not happy with your transition, you can simply select this and drag it outside of your artport, and it's basically going to cancel it out so you can start all over again. So I'm going to actually do the transition this time.
Drew is saying drag interactions feel even better on your device using the XD app. You ever use the app for testing? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a really great way. Also to just see how it looks on the device. You know, it's kind of like a different experience to see like how does everything kind of fit on the screen, and do I like the way it looks? So I would definitely check it out.
So I like this method a lot better. So I simply use that slide up once again. So you can see how it looks like either from sign in screen or from the sign up screen. You can simply go to here, and here, because we have this cutoff line, as I mentioned previously, we can still scroll down and explore what we have right here. We are already 1 hour into this stream, so I think we are going to be able to finish today. So from here, what I want is when they tap this craft your coffee, for them to go to this particular screen, and this screen is going to take up majority of our time today because I want to show you as many of these transitions as possible, which I just mentioned for the coffee, for the milk, and all of these different things. And of course we have to add a few elements here back in our design, which I'm going to show you. But before that, let's click here, drag here, and what I want to do is use the transition, but instead of slide up, maybe we can slide left and see how that looks like. So when I tap right here, it's going to slide.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jack.
Oh, like Alex said, we are an hour in, so we do have a half an hour until that artist spotlight. So be sure to submit if you want to be featured, or if somebody whose work you love, you want to have them featured during the artist spotlight. Be sure to click that tab above the chat to submit someone. And also, if you're just joining us, Alex is working on a app design for a coffee app called Coffee Love that we are working through some prototyping on.
So here I'm going to finish it off by going, let's say, slide up. So let's test out the entire flow without this customize order design screen. So as you might remember, we can drag, or we can tap, or we can skip to go to these screens. You can click sign in and sign up to switch between these screens if you have or don't have an account. Then you can click sign in. It's going to take you to this screen. You can search, you can select one of these, you can select most popular coffee or craft your coffee. You're going to now work on this screen. And then once you're ready with it, you can hit checkout. It's going to take you to your checkout. If you're happy with it, you can hit complete payment, and it's going to take you to this screen, confirmation screen, with the back home button, so you can tap it, and it's going to take you back home to make another purchase for yourself or for a family member or colleague or whoever else. I'm going to switch to the design mode to add a quick mask right here to this text. So I'm actually going to create a group and call it prices.
And now, do you, what kind of considerations do you think about when like choosing animations? Like you picked kind of some of these you had auto animate, some of these screens you had just kind of like slide up or slide in from the right. Like, do you have any kind of like tips, I guess, for choosing animation types for different
Basically,
screens?
it's all about testing. So in some cases, you can use all the same animations. In some cases, you can use different ones. So it's really all about testing and see what works best and what doesn't. So uh, I like to spice things up and include a few different animations here and there if I can. So it's really all up. And sometimes the client maybe has their own preferred animations which they want to use. So you have to factor those in as well. So there is that as well. What I'm going to do here is use these two. So this dollar sign is going to stay the same, but the prices are going to update. And for the prices, I'm going to include a stack and this stack right here. So when I duplicate these, it's going to position them right here. So what I need is this 1450. So that's going to be our end one. So 1450. And we can start with this one. And I don't know, maybe when we add, I'm really bad at math. So I don't know, let's add,
Like,
I don't know, 250 and whatever.
$7. So you need another
Six, seven,
$7.
another $7.
Seven.
Okay, so let's go with 7.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
So
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You need 750. There we go. We made it.
750. So 750?
Yes. So now you've got 450 plus
14.
250 is 7, and then 7 plus 750 is 1450.
So thank you for the help.
No problem.
Now that that's completed, let's create a quick rectangle around here. Just make sure to have the width of 1450 covered, and I'm going to call it mask. And no, not the preview. And I'm going to position it right here, or I can even put it inside of my folder. I can get rid of the stack if I want to, but basically it doesn't really matter. This is just going to be our mask, and I'm going to position it in the center of this dollar sign. Hit Shift, Control, or Command M to put it in a mask. And now you can see that all of these other ones disappeared, and I'm going to call it prices.
Val has a question. Have you ever received animations from a client they wanted you to use, but those animations were very low quality or they did not match the brand? And if so, how did you handle that situation?
It really depends. If the animations are some sort of video quality, then if the animations are video animations, then there are some sort of conversions out there. You can convert them to bigger files, to larger files, clean up files and stuff like that. If the animations are Lottie animations, then maybe you can reduce the size, something like that. But basically, once it's baked in, it's already done. So there is not much that you can do there. So what I'm going to do here is actually select all of this, position it in a group, call it customization or customize order. So the same as our port. And I'm going to hit Control or Command K to turn this into a component. And now comes the fun bit with all of this customization. So here is our default state. And I'm going to add this to be our default state for the espresso. And let me check, we have 25 minutes. So
Yep.
maybe I can add another one. So let's call this lungo. And maybe another one. Let's call it a latte. And then we are going to go back to espresso, let's say, because I have to determine our flow and how our flow is going to look like. So you can see that right here, we are going to select espresso for the coffee. We are going to select the medium for the size, soy milk for the milk, we will not have any of these additions, and we are going to select the cookie. So basically we want to select all of these. So when we do, the price is going to correspond, and we are going to have the same items that we selected here in the checkout as well, corresponding with the price and all of these things which we added. Hopefully this makes sense. 514, yeah. So let's go and do that. For the default state, we already have this selected. For the lungo, I'm going to jump in right here, basically hide espresso, show lungo. There we go. And for the latte, I'm going to jump in right here and show the latte.
And then you could go through and make more states for each of those
Exactly.
options if you wanted to.
Exactly. And I can actually, let's actually wire them up. So switch to prototype. And I'm going to select that entire box. So let's see where we are. We are in the default state. So I want to click on these two, and let's use coffee. Open this up, use Lungo, hit tap. So tap, I can use transition. Animation, I will have none, because I want it to be instant. I don't want any transitions in between, because that can lead to some different elements and different bugs in between, because you want this process to look beautiful, but to be as fast as possible. And this is going to take me, so transition, I'm going to choose latte here. And for this one, I'm going to choose transition, and it's going to take me to Lungo. There we go. Then I'm going to switch to Lungo, and in this one, it's going to show the Lungo, but it's going to, we're going to remove this border. So switch back to our design, select our Lungo component state, select this espresso, get rid of the border, and now show the same border on Lungo, just to show to your users that now this one is selected. And I can switch back to latte, do the same thing. So select my latte, get rid of the border on espresso. There we go. And now that we have these selected, you can see when I start clicking here, you can see how it looks like, but also I can show you right here. So when I tap, it's going to switch, and we didn't wire Lungo right here. So let's switch to prototype, and I'm going to click on my latte. It's going to take me to latte, and this one is going to take me to my default state. There we go. So let's switch to default, and let's hit preview one more time. So now when I switch to Lungo and latte and go back to espresso, once again, it doesn't work for some reason. So let's go to latte, select it one more time, click, and choose default state. So let's try that again. Okay, now it works between all of these, and you can still scroll and select all of these. And you can just imagine, if you spend enough time on it, you can make all of these different selections and you can choose all of them. So now, as I mentioned, we are going to use this flow, so espresso and then medium. So now we have to create the component state for the medium. So let's go back to our design, switch to the default state, because from the default state, because default state is espresso, we are going to go to medium. So I'm going to actually select medium right here, but actually let's create a new component state and call it medium. Once again, just for the time's sakes, I'm going to select our medium and then bring in the border color. There we go. And now we need to select the soy milk. So actually what we need is to nudge these up a little bit. So I'm going to position these, because you can see the milk is next. So I'm going to click and drag them like so, to position them roughly into place to be kind of the same as the previous two. So something like this. So for the milk, now I want to, sorry, no, I have to do that. Let's go here, medium, yeah, okay. So from the medium, I'm actually going to select milk or soy milk. And inside of the soy milk, I will be able to click here So before I get too ahead of myself, let me actually check that.
So you're setting this up so that they kind of, it scrolls kind of automatically as you select your choices?
Just let me check this. Sure. Okay, so medium. Actually, I should select this from here. So default state, I'm going to take this entire group selections, go to my medium, but get rid of the soy milk so I can fix the medium first, because you can see when I switch between default and medium, it sort of jumps a little bit up. So that's what I want to avoid. So I'm going to position this right here, get rid of it. And now inside of this medium component, this is what happens when you rush for time. I'm going to switch it to medium. There we go. So now when I switch between all of these, you can see that these two are going to stay the same, because here we have an issue. If I go right here and select all of these, that's fine. Switch to medium. And then when I click there and try to go here, when I select the milk, it's going to jump back up. So that's what I'm trying to avoid right here. So inside of the medium is going to be selected. Now I need to create that soy milk and actually move them now. So I'm going to use all of these selections and nudge them like this. Inside of the soy milk, we're going to just select the soy milk. There we go. And from here, we are going to select additions. So no additions. Inside of no additions, I'm going to select this none option. And then from here, we will have to create another state for the sweets. So let's go with cookie. So for the sweets, I'm going to jump inside and move this selection right to here until it's basically down at the bottom like this. And here I'm just going to select our cookie. There we go. And now I have to prototype them. So here we are at the default state. And now when I select the prototype, I want to be able to switch from my default state to the medium. So I'm going to actually select this medium, click on it, and then use tab transition animation is none. And I'm going to switch to medium. And then from here, I want to go to the medium. There we go. Medium is selected. And I want to be able to click on that soy milk. So I'm going to jump inside, select my soy milk like this. I'm going to click on it and it's going to take me to the soy milk. We are on a medium. And this is another annoying thing about XD. I don't know, Jack, if you found this as well. You cannot scale this part. So the more components you add, it's really annoying after you get like 20 or 30 component states. So it's really, hopefully they are going to fix that. So where we are right now, we are in the medium. So now we have to switch to soy milk. There we go. So from the soy milk, I want to select these additions. There we go. I want them to take me to no additions. And now I want to switch to no additions. And I want to be able to select cookie. There we go, which is going to take me, of course, to sweets, because this is the name of this field. And now let's test it out and hopefully, fingers crossed, it is going to work. So once again, we can swipe left and right and choose these different coffees. We can choose medium. Now I can scroll a bit down to select the soy milk like this. And you can see it jumped a little bit up into place because that's how we positioned it. There is no soy milk right here, so I have to go back to design really quickly to add it. We can select no additions. And finally, we can select the cookie. And for all of these, we have to adjust those prices. And we have 15 minutes, so I think we will be able to do that. So let's switch to soy milk, component state. And I'm going to go to the top section, find my coffee cup, find my milk, include my soy milk. There we go. And then because we don't have any additions, we are not going to add any. And for the suites, that's basically it. So for the medium, I'm going to actually adjust the price right here. So I'm going to go to the price. Just make sure that I selected medium. I have. So I'm going to go to that price. There we go. And basically, I'm just going to nudge all of them right around here. So for some reason, it didn't work. So let's move the entire folder.
There you go. Oh, uh-oh.
Actually, let me see. So soy milk, there we go. Medium. So 450 was the original price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to add more here. Because it should go from 450 to 750 to 1450. So I think we don't need this 250. So let's go to the default state.
Yeah, that's a good point there, that we want to remove it from the default state so that it removes it from the rest of the states. So we don't have to go through and kind of remove it from each of those individually.
Exactly. So now when I switch to medium and go right here, select my entire folder, now I can switch it to 750. And then finally, when we add that cookie, let's say that the soy milk is included just for the sake of this live stream. When we add that cookie, it is going to switch to 1450. So now what I can do is switch to the sweets. And from here, actually, I need to make a copy of it.
Switch it in the other ones too, yeah?
Yeah, so let's take it from medium. So prices. Let's take the entire mask.
Yes, and Val's reminding everybody that we've got 15 minutes until the artist spotlight, so be sure to submit. Check that tab above the chat if you want to submit yourself or somebody else whose work you love to be featured in a future spotlight.
So here, I'm actually going to paste it here as well, and then make a change from here. So right here, I'm going to select this folder and finally move it to 1450, which is going to be our final price. And from this state, so from the suites, we need to make the change to the checkout. So let me switch to the prototype, switch to the default state and see what I did here. So I did tap, transition, slide up, easy out 0.8. So let me switch to that final state of suites and do the same. So tap, transition. Let's go. Did I set slide up?
Yeah, you had slide up there, so.
Easy out 0.8. There we go. And now let's quickly test it out and see, hopefully, that we did something good with it. So once again, we can select lungo, latte, and we can switch left and right between them. We can select medium, and you can see here the price has updated. And of course, if you had more time, you have to select to go back. So let's say that I want to select small. So the price is going to change, but because we don't have enough time today, we are going to skip that, unfortunately, but you get the whole point. So when you select large, the price is going to increase. Obviously, you get more coffee, so therefore the price is going to change. So now we can scroll a bit down. We can see what's included. Let's choose soy milk and let's choose no additions. And finally, here we have a bunch of these different sweets, but let's go with the cookie. Price is going to increase. Let's go with the checkout. There we go. And here we have all of these items which we selected, which was the whole point at the end of the day. And finally, I can hit complete payment and go back home and start all over again. So that's pretty much it for now.
Yeah, I had a question about the prototyping here. So we kind of did like a single sort of user flow through this. Is this something that at this point you would share with like a client so they could get an idea of the look and the feel? Just kind of like just creating that prototype that goes through a specific set of options, essentially.
Ideally, you would switch to prototype and then click right here. And then prototype these. So basically do exactly the same that we did. So let's actually remove this select this entire artboard and select, let's say, drag, because that's what we did right here. Then select this drag. You know, the whole point here is to connect all of these screens between each other. So I think we did tap, auto animate, easing. Let's go with ease out 0.8. And then we can do the same right here. So tap, auto animate, because I just want to show you that now when I switch to share, you can see that these screens are connected because they are part of the same flow. But if I go back to the prototype and then click right here, I can click here to have a different flow. And now when I switch to share, you can see that this flow is selected. So why this is important is because we mentioned yesterday, when you start creating these paper wireframes, which I showed you right here, you can include them into artboard, which I showed in yesterday's live stream, and then you can share that artboard with your clients, so you can truly get feedback every step of the way. You can then share this with your for the design review to get feedback on your designs or prototype. You can share this for development. So this is where that mark for export option is going to come in handy, because you can share it with your developers and they can get these assets straight away. They can download them and use them straight away. And when you share for development, developers are going to see the various distances between all of your elements in your screens or on your pages. You can share this as a presentation. You can see it's optimized for presenting your design. For example, this is really useful if you are sharing this with stakeholders in a meeting, let's say on a big screen or something like that. So it's really useful to have it. We have user testing, so it's ideal for testing your prototype. And finally, we have custom, so you can customize all of these different options. For user testing, it's really useful to hide these controls. So usually in these prototypes for Adobe XD, you have these controls like home. So home in this case is this screen because we marked it and this is the start of our flow. So it's always going to go to this screen when you tap home. And you can mark that and hide that inside of the user testing mode, just to test how easy it is for users to figure out how to go back to a certain screen. And basically this just hides the navigation like tap points, so users don't see where they can tap. Basically they have to figure that out for themselves. So it's really useful to test something like that. Inside of the development, of course, developers can get CSS code. They can get all of these components and component states, all of these assets which we mentioned. And for design review, which is the sort of first thing which you're going to approach, is basically for your clients and stakeholders. They can leave you feedback because this can be shared as an online link. They can simply drag these pins inside of your design and pinpoint exactly to what they want you to change. And of course, you can switch between these and you can name your flow. So let's go right here and call this wireframe.
Yeah,
like so.
Since we've got about 7 minutes, if you wanted to, you could create one of these links and we can kind of show everybody what that kind of view looks like if you wanted to.
Which one should I do? Should I do design review or development?
It's up to you. If you wanted to go over some of the features in design review, like with the pins, or if you wanted to go over the view that the developers see with the CSS, it's up to you.
Let's go for this one. Let's go with design review, and we can do the other one for development. So you can see it's going to create the link right here. And basically it all depends how big your design is, because this one is quite small. If you have, let's say, 100 screens, 200 screens, it's going to be much more difficult for it to generate, and it's going to take a bit more time. Here, what you can see is you can copy this link, you can paste it in your browser, or you can simply click right here to open it up. Here you can embed this code into your website, and here you can simply share to Behance, which is another great option. So if I drag my window right here, just so you guys can see it. Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so here is that wireframe which we created. Here you can invite collaborators, basically, so clients or stakeholders, to make comments on your design. Here you can see that we have 5 screens in this flow for the wireframe. And here is that home screen which I mentioned. So if I click between them and click on the home, it's going to take me to the home screen, which is this first one in this case. So let's say that your clients want to make a change. They can click and place a pin, I don't know, right here. And let's say something like position. the logo down a bit. There you go, hit submit. And you're going to see this as a walkthrough one, which is this screen. Obviously, you can see who left the comment, how long ago did they leave it, and you can reply to that comment and say, go away, for example. Something like that. There we go. Of course, you're not going to do this, but just to illustrate how super simple this is to share with your clients. Of course, here you can enlarge it to go full screen. You can zoom in and out a little bit right here, and you can mention a client. Just hit this at symbol, and you can mention, because sometimes in these projects you can have multiple clients leaving you feedback. So depending on who you want for to receive this feedback, you would mention this sort of person. So let me see, we have 5 more minutes, so maybe I can share this for development. And here is that export option, because it knows that I selected iPhone artboard size. So it's giving me this option to export for iOS, and I can include downloadable assets, but because we are short for time, I didn't include any. And here you can see anyone with the link. You can only share this with only invited people and anyone with the password. So when I hit create link, it's going to take just a bit more time. Obviously, we are connected to the live stream, so it's taking a bit of the bandwidth, but hopefully it's going to create it in a short while.
Yeah, Val saying the sharing and feedback features are so great. They are very handy. And they, you mentioned this before, but the naming your layers and naming your components and things like that, and using those asset panel is going to be really helpful in this view that we're going to look at here for developers.
Exactly. And I just want to finally mention this. You can see this update link. So every time you go back to your design, you change something, you go back to share, you're going to notice this update link. So just hit that button. It's going to update this prototype link. And what's important is it's going to retain the same link. It's just going to update the assets and all of the design, which is inside of that link. And here is our design. Because we have 9 screens in this flow, you can see them right here. And when I switch to here, for example, hit back on home, here you can see the same thing which I mentioned, but now we have this option. Before we do, you can see that all of your animation works. Everything works as it should. You can click right here and you have all of the same functionality that you have inside of XD, which is basically the entire point right here. So when I switch to medium, you can see that right here. But because this is development, we have this option. So when I click right here, you can see the screen details. So viewport size, design size, you can see all of the colors which I use, and conveniently it gives us the hex codes, which I can simply click and it can copy this color to clipboard. They can paste it in the code editor. Character styles, so which character styles have I used, and you can click right here to switch between points, pixels, and DEP. And interactions, so we have tab, transition, and the state for soy milk. So I can click on that component, it's going to show me all of the different states, and I can even switch between these different states right here directly in my browser to show these different states. Here you can see the group, here you can see the appearance. So if you lower down the opacity to, let's say, 30% to some element or something like that, and when I switch between them, if there are some major changes, like let's say increase in viewport height or increase in, let's say, changing of the colors or something like that, it is going to show that. So here when I hit, you can see the distances. So now it's going to change whatever element you selected. So when I select, let's say, this arrow, it's going to show the distances when I hover between left, right, top, bottom, so all of these different elements. And when I select this image, you can see it's 96 pixels wide, 62 pixels high, and it is going to show me what I selected right here, hopefully. Yeah, so here we go. So we have corner radius, we have the color, we have the opacity, we have the interactions, animation, easing, duration, all of these different elements. And the rectangle is called small button BG. And if I switch back to my design and select this element, you can see it's also called small button BG for small button background. So there you go. That's how easy and super simple it is to share with clients, developers, and stakeholders. Should we now do the artist spotlight?
It is time to switch over to the artist spotlight. So if you want to...
All right, so here is
There we
our
go.
artist for today. Hopefully all of you can see it.
We can see
It's
it.
Mark Gerkules. Hopefully I am pronouncing that correctly. If not, maybe Mark can
Yeah, if you're
correct
here,
us if
Mark, let
he's
us
watching.
know.
Let us know in the comments. So he is from Lezion, Israel. And you can check him out on the web right here. He is on this Israel Creatives team. And you can see a bunch of different links right here. So you can check him out. And he is a product designer at Artlist.
I always love seeing these when people really build out their about section to like let people know not only like he's got a ton of links in here, but also just like a little bit about himself and the, you know, his skills and kind of like some awards down there. It's really nice to see. That gives people a good idea of like, I don't know. I like to learn a little bit about the person, you know?
I also love the email address right here. So I can select this, copy and contact him directly from here. And there is also his website down there. And let's check out some of this work. So let's open up a few of these. And we can also see that he was featured in UI UX. And we can see some of these. So let's open this one.
Yeah, Val just shared a link to Mark's Behance. Be sure to go and give Mark a follow. Give him a thumbs up on some of these projects.
Let's hit appreciate.
Yep.
So here we have a website for Elementor 3.0 release.
Do you work with Elementor at all?
I didn't have the chance so far. I know what it is, but I didn't have the chance so far.
Yeah, it's for those of you that don't know in the chat, it's a WordPress sort of page builder that you can use inside of WordPress. So looks like these are some designs for that. Or using
Is it the sort of the same thing as Webflow or is it different?
I would say it's a little bit different than it's similar but different because you're working inside of the WordPress ecosystem. So it's you're kind of using you're leveraging some of the structure that you get inside of WordPress with the sort of page builder view for building out your different sections and page content and stuff.
So when you're finished with it, are you going to end up with a theme that you can use? Or is it just a page?
So you're building, so Elementor has like it uses its own WordPress theme essentially that you're building on top of, but you can build out these different like blocks, I guess, inside of Elementor to reuse similar to a WordPress theme, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I really like this design. It's super clean, minimal, super simple. I like these block elements. Everything is readable, legible.
Yeah, that's important.
I like the contrast right here.
Yeah, for the web is that like the color contrast, like you said, for accessibility to make sure that everything is readable.
And here is his design system. So we have headlines right here. We have the colors and hex codes which he used, which I think is a nice touch. We have the grid system.
Yeah, that's nice. That's something you don't see a lot in projects, is seeing the grid like that.
Yeah, especially these on the edges. People usually leave them out and just put the 12 column or 6 column or whatever they're using in the middle, but they don't show the margins on each side, left and right. I think that's a nice touch here. So there we go. That's our first project. Let's switch on over to this one. Here, appreciate. So this is Swimmer app.
So we looked at a website and now we're looking at an app design, looks like.
Yeah, so it was designed to help swimmers train simply and usefully. So we have some iconography here, looks really nice. Once again, included the text. So here we have the sizes. Oh, here we go. We have the UX flow. There we go. So
I like how it's very on brand with the colors that are in the app as well.
Yeah, and you can see it's super simple, kind of like what we created yesterday, just without any arrows, diamonds, and stuff like that. So you can show this to our clients quite easily. They're going to understand it just like the thing that we created yesterday. And we have a little prototype right here.
I always love when you get to see these because they really, like you said, earlier. When you start doing the prototyping, it really comes to life.
Yeah.
Val saying this portfolio is really clean.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
I
I
like
really
the
love
slide, the way that the content slides in.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Nice. I like how he's combining all of these different presentational elements. So not just these text elements at the top where they are here, but also icons, UX flow, video, sort of like high fidelity prototype right here, also including the text. So describing what it is and what we are looking at basically right here. So I really like all of these elements, and we have another video here. Okay, so here we are going from the previous, where we left off the previous time, and moving further, we have some nice animations.
Yeah, it looks
and
like.
I like these elements, kind of like a water.
Yeah. It looks like he has broken these videos up in between each of the, so he's showing us the screens and then we're seeing the prototype. So we're kind of seeing it piece by piece instead of just like, here's all the screens and then here's a video that covers everything. It's very much like a tailored experience as you go through the project.
Kind of like two different flows. So first one and then second one. Really, really nice touch. And I like how he did this animation sort of like we did today, but more complex, obviously, with more numbers and changing, once again, using the mask. So I think it looks really nice. Here we have another video. So just showing us the navigation and moving between different sections. So lovely. So these are these screens. Let's show another one. So here we have another project. So poster print app. So here, this is his mood board. Colors, typography. I like how these look like. Unfortunately, I cannot read Hebrew, but I like colors.
Yeah,
and
the colors
like
are very vibrant.
Yeah, I like the layout and the spacing, and I like these illustrations for the cards, different cards like Visa and MasterCard and stuff like that. And the poster design.
Oh,
this
wow,
all looks lovely. Packaging.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very in-depth. All these projects are very in-depth about like the process and like breaking everything down, like you said.
Yeah. For this one, he was featured for Martin Garrix. I just love how he includes the typography scale and all of these elements into each presentation. It just shows effort, especially for hiring managers who are watching something like this. They really like to see something like this. It just shows the effort that designers has put into these presentations. It's not just, this is my work, there you go, you can browse it for yourself. It's just, I'm taking all of this time to put into presentations as well. I don't know about you, but for me, presentations are really difficult because they come at the end of the project and you're kind of drained and you want to just move on to the next thing. So I don't know if everybody in the chat feels the same way.
Alex, do you have like a template or like a certain, like, I know I'm going to need these kind of elements that you're kind of keeping in mind as you're working through a project? Like, okay, you know, as I'm working through this, I'm thinking about like, I need to keep this part to include in like a case study at the end, and sort of like building that library as you go.
Yeah. Yeah, but sometimes I like to either get the free templates or to purchase some other templates, depending on what I'm showing to my clients. Is it just, let's say, XD link, or is it something a bit more complex like PowerPoint presentation, or am I preparing something for Behance? So it really depends, but usually I have a presentation in mind while I work on the project. So I know which sections really make sense and what I need to include, like the typography scale, iconography, color system, maybe if I created some sort of a grid system like we saw right here. So I include all of those elements, but this looks really nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
Adongo has a good tip for us. Video tip for presentation: upload video to Vimeo and then embed the link on Behance. So that's a really great, and then also that helps build out, you know, your sort of work on Vimeo as well. Putting it
Did you
out there.
hear about the Vimeo crash gate, which happened recently?
No, I have not. I don't know what that is.
So they decided to, I think, charge.
I did hear about this, yes, because a couple of
so
people that I follow on Twitter, it affected them.
yeah, basically, if you cancel your membership on Vimeo, your videos are gone. So you have to keep paying the Vimeo in order for you to host your videos there. So I think that's just terrible business model. But
well, you could do the same thing, I think, on YouTube as well. You could upload your videos to YouTube and embed them in a similar way.
Yeah, you can keep them private, and there are a bunch of these other options out there. So Vimeo is just one of them. But I get the point from the chat, just that Vimeo gate is kind of scary.
Definitely.
Okay, so nice light box options. I think they look really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, if you want to hop over to back to your screen now, and we can kind of finish up anything that you want to finish up on the app. Thank you so much, Mark. It was great to see your work and spotlight you during the Artist Spotlight. Again, if you want to submit yourself or somebody you know to be featured in the future, you can do that right above the chat, and we will take a look at your work.
So basically, because I'm more or less finished right here, what I can do for the end of the stream is perhaps expand this a bit more. So I can switch to my design, go back to my default state, and maybe add some additional sections right here. So here we have sweets, and I went ahead and prepared something else right here. So I have snack bars maybe. So everybody likes a good snack. So I can go to here. And because all of these selections are inside of the stack, so I can go ahead and duplicate this and call this, let's say, snack or snacks. And I can go back to here and say something like snack bar or select snack bars.
We do have about 20 minutes left with Alex today, so if anybody has any more questions, be sure to get them in the chat so we can answer them.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and rename these as I see them right here. So I'm going to call this one cereal, this one Snickers, this one Kit Kat, Mars, and white Twix. Do you have your favorite snack bar?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah. In terms of candy bars, I'm a fan of the Milky Way.
Always a good choice.
Yeah. Would you have a favorite?
Twix, definitely.
Twix, yeah. Also a good one.
Yeah.
What about you guys in the chat? Let us know what your favorite is.
I'm kind of hungry now.
Yeah. The picture of the donuts especially.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have your favorite donuts, or is it
yes,
just...
of course I do.
You do?
Yes. But you might be surprised. It's not a fancy donut. It's a like an old-fashioned style, like just a plain like fry cake donut. Just a plain donut.
Really?
Yeah, there's a variety specifically made with, they mix sour cream in with the batter. And it doesn't taste like sour cream, but it just makes it like really, really, like, I don't know, like really good. That's my favorite type of donut.
Nice.
What's your favorite type?
Anyone which is sweet. So
I
don't really care. Yeah. as long as it's sweet, it's good enough for me, and I like it.
Val has a question for both of us, Alex and Jack. Is there a project you would really like to try doing but haven't found the time for yet?
Something in AR, perhaps.
Yeah, I
Or
agree with that.
even better, if I could have a chance to do something in VR, to wear a VR headset and to create some sort of a quick game or a puzzle game or something like that, that could be a lot of fun. So I didn't do AR, I didn't do VR experiences. I would really love to do something like that, and a bit more 3D in the future. Hopefully, we spoke about it yesterday. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I would say similar. I just started taking a Blender course, so I'm trying to get back into. I have a little bit of 3D experience, but I'm trying to get back into it. And yeah, I would say I would second AR. I tried a while back to work on like an AR interface, and it just I never really got there with it. And I would love to kind of revisit that in the future, um, for sure. Especially now with the 3D features in XD.
Yeah.
You could do some cool stuff with that and an AR app.
So there we go. Now we have these snack bars, but basically because we updated this, we would now have to go through the entire prototype. So when I hit medium and then soy milk, additions and sweets, now I have this new option, but I would have to move it inside of the sweets component state for these bars at the bottom. But because of the time constraint, we are not going to do that, but we're just going to play around because we have still like 15 minutes or something like that. Actually, let me show you the original design, which I created for this live stream. So there it is. You can see it looks basically exactly the same as this one, but in this one, I included all of these other coffee variations. So you can see, just if you have a bit more time, you can play around with all of these and you can include many of these elements. And same like in the walkthrough screens, which I showed you and which we created at the beginning, for each of these states, if you want, you can make these switch places. So you can position them, rotate them, do the same thing basically as in the walkthrough screens. I think it's a bit much and it can take a bit much from the experience because these elements are just here for show. The coffee is the star of the show, basically, of this screen. So don't go too crazy with these elements. So here we can go with small, medium, and large, and you can see the prices changing. This is what I was speaking about. If you have enough time, you can dedicate a lot of time to stuff like this. So here we can select soy milk, and of course we have the same options as before. I can go with no additions, and I can choose between all of these other ones. Cookie, you can see the price updated, hit checkout. Now in this example, I have the checkout going into this direction, so slide right, and in our new example, I have it in slide left. Complete payment, there we go. And I think I wired something here, yeah, to go back to the first screen. So we can do that in our example. So what you can do is basically create a rectangle, any size. It doesn't have to be a rectangle, it can be circle, it can be whatever you want. And then you can lower down the opacity. You can put it on top of your elements, so it's not hidden behind your image or your other elements, and simply call it tap point. This tap point can be bigger or smaller. You can position it wherever you want. You can see these bounds right here. Switch to prototype mode. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to take us to any other screen which is not linked by button. So in this case, I want to take us to this screen. So when I tap, use auto animate, it's going to, instead of easing out, let's use snap, for example, just to make it a bit different. And let's go with 1 second, just to make it a bit longer. So once again, when we are here at the checkout, hit complete payment. Instead of hitting this going back home, now I have this tap point, and you can see when I hover my mouse, it's going to change from the arrow to the pointer. You can see it right here. And when I click, it's going to take us back to the walkthrough screen. So that's just one quick tip, and it's really useful, especially when you're working with complex components with various different states. So it's going to save you a lot of time just to include this tap point, which is not visible, and it is there for you to show to the developers what you have in mind. Because of course in code, implementation is going to be a bit different, obviously, than in design, but some things that you cannot show in design, just use these tap points, and it's going to be quite easy for you to show your concepts and for developers to understand what they can implement later in code. So there we go. We can run through this, or I can go ahead and see if I prepared something else.
What advice would you give to new designers? Somebody just starting out, either just starting out in UI UX, I guess, in general.
The question I get most often, because I have these courses on my website and on various different online platforms, the question number one I get is from new designers is, how long is it going to take me to learn this? Is it going to take me, let's say, 6 months or 2 years, or how long does it going to take me? And I always respond to them, just be patient. It is going to come at the end, but just be patient, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing comes overnight. So I've been doing this for 15 years. I don't try to brag at all. I hate bragging. I really don't like it. But basically, everything in life takes time to master. So whatever you want to do, we mentioned 3D throughout today's live stream and yesterday's live stream. And it's something that both yourself and myself want to master a little bit more. But we have to practice. You have to put in hours. You have to invest hours. You have to learn. You have to learn all the time. Even XD. I'm showing XD on Adobe Live, which I'm incredibly grateful to show you the things I like to do, the skills I like to use when I work on these projects. But there are many other talented people which are vastly more talented than I am, just because they invested a lot more time than I am, and they have perhaps better approach than I do. So just invest a lot of time into your learning, and it's going to pay off at the end.
Yeah, I think it can be frustrating for people just starting out. Then they have an idea in mind and they're struggling. I know that it's frustrating for me learning 3D. I have all these ideas I want, but I don't have yet the skills or the time, like you said, put into it to really like execute those as quickly as I want to. So
I'll give you a perfect example. I was watching a tutorial and I wanted to create a low poly car, which is basically kind of like a boxed car 3D. So I use this tool called Spline, which is a free tool. You can find it online. It's really, really limited, but it's great because you can show it as sort of a web presentation, and you can include transitions just like you can in Adobe XD for hover, for click, for rotate, drag, and things like those. So I was watching a tutorial online and I was thinking, yeah, I got this. This is super simple. And I tried it and I failed miserably. I tried it for 3 hours. I couldn't get it done and I just left, because that just shows you have to practice every day.
Yeah.
You have to show up every day, and you have to invest time and love into it. You cannot just expect to go into this field or any other field for that matter for money. If you don't love it, you're not going to succeed and you're just going to be miserable at the end of the day. So find what you love, invest a lot of time into it, invest a lot of effort into it. You're going to be good at the end of the day.
I love that. That's a great message to kind of land on. Maybe you can walk us through what we've worked on the past 2 days from the
Sure thing. So here we go. We have started with this, which is the Coffee Love. This is our imaginary project that we worked on yesterday and today. And the whole idea here was to create an app for a small coffee shop with just one physical location. They want to expand and create a mobile app to reach a broader audience. Then we moved into task flow. We decided which screens are primary screens and most important screens. We chose these 9 screens, and all of these other screens were suggested kindly by the chat to include a bit later. Then we created a task flow to show how our users are going to move through the app. And then I showed you some paper wireframes, which I created, just some basic ideas as to where all of these various elements are going to go on each screen. Then we moved into wireframe yesterday, and we basically put all of these sketches in wireframe in Adobe XD, used some colors, created some buttons and some elements, dragged in some icons. And now today we created this design using these wireframes. And I also showed you this quick mood board, which you can find anywhere online. You can find inspiration, just pick some colors from it. And I also showed you how to save these colors right here to your colors palette. Simply click right here. Then I also showed you how to share all of these different flows, both for wireframe and for design, by simply coming right here and sharing them for your clients or developers. And finally, to wrap this day up, I think we have just enough time. Let's look at the prototype one last time. So here we included a drag trigger to switch between our walkthrough screens, left and right. We can skip to go to the login or click right here. Inside of the login, if you have your account, you can log in right here. If you don't, you can switch to sign up just to create your account. And then when you sign up, it's going to take you to the home page where it says good morning, Jack. And then you can find your coffee. You can search for coffee right here. You can tap to go to your experience. You can purchase cookies and sweets, find most popular coffees here. And then when you click right here, it's going to take you to this screen, which is the primary focus on this app, where you can focus on your
All
coffee.
right, I think we've got to wrap up. Alex, thanks
and there we go.
For hanging out with us for the past 2 days, chat, and thanks so much, Alex, for sharing your process with us.
Thank you.
Make sure you go and follow Alex. I think Val has shared the links in the chat, and stay tuned for the Premiere Creative Challenge with Fabio Lara coming up next, followed by a new episode of Graphic Glow Up with Voodoo Val. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.